Hello, everybody, and welcome to Decoding the WSL, the podcast dedicated to the stats and facts in the WSL. And it is a hell of a week to go into this week. 23 goals in the 6 games that were played this weekend, and we're going to be reviewing all 6 of them. And we have a full complement this weekend of people on the pod, and it is all the regulars back together. So I'm your host, Sam Biccarino, and alongside me, the 3 others on the panel, we have the walking, talking encyclopedia of women's football that is Mr. Tom Maher. Tom, how are we doing?
I'm really good, thanks, Sam. How are you?
Yeah, very good. We have another man that's, well, this now isn't the only podcast he is on anymore because you've been sort of putting your skills elsewhere as well, haven't you, Jacob?
I have been, yeah. I've done a couple of Spurs podcast appearances in the last few weeks. And yeah, it's a good time to be, well, not a Spurs men fan, but a Spurs women fan. Because yeah, it's another week where Spurs women are above Arsenal. Just had to say that.
Yeah. I think as with 3 other Arsenal people on the pod that you should take the gloating while you have the opportunity to. I think that's fair to say. And obviously, rounding us off is the Sky Sports Multiview's biggest fan. It's Izzy Duddy.
Thank you, Sam. Hello. Yes, I hate Sky Sports Multiview, but I love Football Manager, and I am building an entire Bayern Munich team around Georgia Stanway and having a lot of fun. So thank you, Football Manager, for that.
Yeah, Football Manager is out. I think today is like the official release date, or it might be tomorrow.
Tomorrow, yeah.
Tomorrow, or it might be today as you're listening, because it's currently Monday evening for us. And yeah, I've definitely been. I was just saying to everyone that I've been on my second save already. I did my sort of standard start unemployed, no coaching badges, see where we can go. But yeah, currently Market Harbour Town manager. I'm gonna. I was going to say take them to the top, but I'll take them up a league and then get a better job, basically. But let's talk about the actual football in real life, because there was a lot of WSL action on this Halloween weekend. Lots of talking points with 23 goals in 6 games, almost 4 a game. And it might have been Halloween this weekend, but nothing can spook Bon Pastor's Chelsea. They remain unbeaten in all 29 WSL games under Sonia. The name Skinner, Rianne Skinner, her West Ham side have gone 007 to start the season with a 1-0 loss this time away at Manchester City. There were no goals at Villa Park, just plenty of goals as Aston Villa and Everton draw in a 6-goal thriller. It is a great time to be a Red Devil as Turlin returns to terrify Brighton, opening the scoring in United's 3-2 win. I, for one, wouldn't want to be a Leicester fan after a heavy loss at home to Arsenal this weekend. And finally, Spurs weren't scared when they went behind early on. Who needs Halloween when they've got their hallowed queen, Beth England, scoring the winner for them? It's going to be a frightfully good show today, and we're going to start with the game at Stamford Bridge. And I hope you all enjoyed that because I spent my full lunch hour writing it. Chelsea 2, London City Lionesses 0. This one was one of the many 12 p.m. games this weekend on Saturday at Stamford Bridge. Ellie Carpenter opening the scoring early on. Sam Kerr scoring late in second half stoppage time with a really nice lob to round off a 2-0 victory. And yeah, I think a little bit under the radar, LCL aren't doing as well as I sort of think they are doing, I think, because I realise that only West Ham have conceded more goals and have a worse goal difference than London City Lionesses this season. So not great for them so far, but definitely great for Chelsea. Hannah Hampton being the first goalkeeper to get 4 clean sheets this season. So she's had a really good game because Izzy, I guess the football this weekend probably wasn't all that was on Hannah Hampton's mind.
Yeah, I think it's been an interesting one when you're talking about goalkeepers. I guess the first thing says congratulations to Hannah Hampton for being voted in the FIFA Pro 11 vote by the players best goalkeeper. She's done very well to deserve that, and I think she's probably had a lot of distractions. I think the timing of certain discussions around Marriott's book and things were less than ideal this week, but she's sort of carried it off with her usual class and talent, and I think you've got to hand it to her because it's psychologically probably the hardest position to play in football is being a goalkeeper. And And we know she can kind of do that part of it well. Like we've seen her in the penalty shootouts and stuff. But when you're sort of got a competitive league game and you've got other things tinkling in the back of your mind as well, I can imagine that's not actually as easy as it might sound. So yeah, a rare Arsenal showering of love to Chelsea just for virtue of having Hannah Hampton, to be honest.
Yeah, I think it was a fantastic appointment from them when they brought her in. I think when they first brought her in, I wasn't sort of completely sold. I didn't for a moment then think that she was going to go on to become the best keeper in the world, but here we are. Someone else that was in that FIFA Pro 11 was Lucy Bronze, and she obviously played a bit of a different role in this game because in Chelsea's sort of back three, they went with Bronze and Carpenter. I actually took Carpenter out of my fantasy team this week because I thought Lucy Bronze is back and Bompastor bingo is what it is. So it would be the one time that I leave Carpenter in that she'd come out, and obviously the time that I take her out is the time that Sonia leaves her in. But we saw Lucy Bronze in this sort of right centre-back role, and Tom, she actually got the most touches in the game as well, the only player to get over 100 touches, and I think she actually played really well in this game. I only caught the highlights of it, but it seemed like she put in a really stellar performance.
Yeah, I was covering this one at Stamford Bridge, and I thought it was a really interesting formation. I did kind of think this might be coming with Lucy Bronze at right centre-back and Carpenter going bombing forward. I thought those two were Chelsea's best players, actually. They really combined well, and they have such similar skill sets, which feels like it can be a kind of negative, but it's also a positive because it means that you have kind of two of the same player to be covering those same positions. And it's just so Lucy Bronze, isn't it? This is her first start of the WSL season, and she plays 90 minutes, which is just, I mean, obviously Chelsea fans will be absolutely delighted with that, as will England fans, her getting those minutes. And yeah, I thought she was brilliant. And obviously Carpenter was just fantastic as well. She scored, created a big chance, was just kind of electric down that wing. I was just really positive for Chelsea as well this game because they had Naomi Goma back in the squad. She made the bench, which is obviously really useful for them to have her back in and around the team. But yeah, Lucy Bronze back. They still haven't lost under Bompastor in the league. We'll see next week, but it doesn't look like they're going to lose anytime soon, to be honest. But I was also really impressed with London City Lionesses fullbacks. I thought Fernandez was really good. Nobody won more duels in this game than her. She had the most key passes and created a big chance in this game as well. So yeah, a good game for the fullbacks. I think for the fullback appreciators, this was the one to watch this weekend.
Yeah, fullbacks were definitely the defenders of choice this week. We put three of them in our sort of team of the week from the weekend. Ellie Carpenter and Lucy Bronze both making it for Chelsea alongside Hannah Hampton in goal. Jacob, I want to ask you about another Chelsea player, which is Sam Kerr, because she obviously came on quite late on, scored really late on, sort of with the last minute or two of the game in injury time. But looking at the stats from this, one of the areas that I thought Chelsea struggled was their clinicality in front of goal, because they got almost 4 times the XG of London City Lionesses, almost 3, but they only had 0.6 XG on target and only managed 3 shots on target, which was actually the same as LCL. And how long do you think it's going to be till Sam Kerr starts? Because she is obviously a world-class striker, and Chelsea seem to need her in this game.
Yeah, exactly. I think there's obviously a need for Chelsea to kind of ease Sam Kerr in terms of minutes. She obviously was out for close to 2 years with that ACL injury. She came back close to the beginning of the season, came on and scored on her return against Villa. She's only played 100 WSL minutes this season, no starts, all her minutes kind of being off the bench. But she has scored 2 goals, and we know how good she is. So I think the start will come soon, especially because, look, we know Aggie Beaver-Jones possesses a lot of quality, but that's now no goal in 3 for Beaver-Jones. She has had chances. She had 4 shots for United, 2 shots for Spurs, 4 shots for London City Lionesses, 1.1 xG over 3 games, though, suggests not high shot quality, and 0 goals for Beaver Jones in that kind of time. So yeah, maybe we'll kind of see that rotation with Kerr coming in, or maybe Beaver Jones dropping deeper into more of a 10 role. That clinicality potentially a problem for Chelsea because, yeah, as you said, kind of 3 shots on target from 17 isn't the best conversion rate. They had similar against Spurs before the international break with 4 shots on target, the 27 they had against Spurs, but it's another win for Chelsea. They continue their unbeaten start. It's a very strong start to the season, another clean sheet. And yeah, I think they'll take a lot of momentum going into the game against Arsenal this weekend.
Yeah, I find a few times with Chelsea this season, it's sort of we come into it and we're like, well, they're not really as good as we thought they were going to be. They're a bit crap at this, they're a bit crap at that. And then you can be like, oh, well, what was the score? And they won 2-0. And it's like, well, what's the problem? But yeah, I do feel like Chelsea this season aren't quite as strong as they were last season. I think they're going to drop more points than they did. But we'll have to wait and see. I think with the 2 Manchester clubs snapping at their tail as well, they'll be right on that to try and keep up their great form. Let's move on to one of the Manchester clubs because at the same time there was Man City 1, West Ham 0. Fabinho getting the only goal of the game in this one. Man City have now won every WSL game since their loss to Chelsea on the opening day, which is 6 in a row. No other team has got more than 2 in a row at the moment. They were the far better team on XG. They had 2.1 compared to West Ham's 0.5. They had more than double the passes completed. And it's a game that, Tom, wasn't really the most entertaining.
No, I don't think this is the highlight game when you've got of the weekend when you've got games finishing 4-1, 3-3, all of this type of score lines. But yeah, it's a job done for Manchester City at the end of the day, isn't it? Really, it's like what you were saying a moment ago about Chelsea. That's what teams around them have to start doing, winning ugly in these kind of games. And maybe the one thing it did show is a little bit of hope for West Ham, especially going into a far more winnable game next weekend, that they can have that mettle, that they're still believing in the approach, that they're still working hard for each other, because this was a good performance from them to only lose 1-0 in honesty with the way their season's been going. And I think they'd have a lot of positives to take from this game into the next one. The fact that they did create big chances, the fact that they hit the woodwork, like it wasn't. In another day, it wasn't inconceivable they would have taken a point from this game. It wasn't altogether different from their draw with City in London earlier in the year. That City had the lead and West Ham stuck in there and then got that goal late on. It's just this time West Ham didn't get that goal.
Yeah, West Ham are definitely struggling a bit compared to what they've done in previous years. Although I have been saying for a while that I think West Ham are just ticking time bomb that will end up going down because on a sort of more macro scale, they're just not really invested in as much as they could be or perhaps should be. But yeah, as I mentioned in that little intro, 7 losses from the first 7 games. West Ham are the first side to get 7 losses this season. They've not even scored a goal in their last 4 games. But Jacob, do you think there are any other sort of more promising signs for West Ham today? Because they really are struggling.
Potentially in the first half, yeah. I think from an attacking perspective, look, they didn't score in the game, but they did have chances in that first half. There were a couple chances for Vivian Assayi. We know how clinical Assayi is. Yeah, she's one of the league's biggest XG underachievers this year, which is disappointing. She had a couple of shots in the first half. One shot, I think it was a header off the crossbar at 1-0, which was close. I think from a defensive perspective, I think West Ham will be disappointed because yes, City dominated in terms of XG. They had and chances. They had 18 shots, but City only had 1 shot on target, and obviously that was the goal from Biccarino. So I think it will be disappointing to have conceded, but. They did compete with City, which I think is a positive, although they didn't have a shot in the entire second half. So especially when you're trying to chase the game and turn the tide on your season, you should really expect to kind of at least have some chances to try and test City. But look, I think City away is one of the hardest fixtures in the league. So that's probably not the game West Ham were expecting to get points. And I think they've got two games now, 2 home games against Leicester and Everton. And if there's any time to turn your season around, it's the home games against other teams that are kind of in and around you. So I think that's what West Ham should turn their attention to.
Yeah, I think that's a good idea. Let's move on to one of those teams now. This one was Sunday, unsurprisingly, also at midday. 3-3 between Villa and Everton at Villa Park. Georgia Mullet scoring on her first ever WSL start. Kirsty Hansen and a Ruby Mace own goal were the source of Villa's other goals, while for Everton there were 2 for Kelly Gago and a lovely goal from Kitagawa as well. That Ruby Mace own goal, I thought, in particular, was fantastic because I think pretty much any striker in the world would be proud of that finish. I don't think she could have done that if she tried. It was fantastic. We mentioned there Georgia Mullet scored on her first ever WSL start. She has obviously had minutes off the bench over the last few seasons, but the goal she scored was 0.9 XG, and it was actually 0.99 XG on target. So it was basically an unmissable shot, which I know you can twist that as she couldn't have missed it, so it's not that good. But I think that's absolutely a players in the right position at the right time. Give them the credit for that, because that is harder than you would think to be in the right position at the right time. Izzy, obviously Daly and Salmon were unavailable for Villa today, but they still managed to score 3 goals. They've obviously got Georgia Mullet getting on the score sheet now, and Kirsty Hansen's got another goal. Do you think Daly and Salmon, they have been 2 of Villa's best players this season, but do you think they're just going to sort of waltz back in when they're available again, or do you think there might be a bit more sort of competitiveness for places?
Yeah, I think it's going to be really competitive. I think Villa are a really interesting team this season. Obviously, we saw Lucia Kendall play her first England game the other day against the Matildas and kept player of the match, no less. So, and with the likes of sort of Georgia Mullet coming through, we know there's a lot of talent across the team, and I think it's quite well spread out as well in terms of positioning. You obviously have quite a strong defence now with Lynn Vilms, Oceane Deslandes, and Anna Patton. Obviously, has always been there, but you also have their wingers like Chastity Grant. She's another excellent player who's, I think, only going to go sort of from strength to strength. And I do think that Villa, it's quite nice having, after how they're performing at the end of last season, when sort of there was a bit of a question mark over where their future was going to go. I think the future looks very bright, and actually when I think of Villa now, I don't think of Daly and I don't think of Salmon necessarily as kind of the key people. I am thinking of the likes of Kirsty Hansen, for example. So I think that kind of says something as well when the sort of perception of the team changes. Definitely 2 seasons ago, if not last season, it felt sometimes like Rachel Daly was sort of carrying the team a little bit at moments, but I kind of forget she exists sometimes for Villa, and I don't mean that in a mean way because she's brilliant and I love her, but I think it just goes to show how well they've sort of invested in the team across the pitch. So yeah, I'm really excited to see what happens with them.
Yeah, I completely agree on the Rachel Daly point, actually. Not in that she's got worse necessarily, but just that the rest of the squad has got better and they've got a lot more kind of like bigger names and star players like Kirsty Hansen. Even I think like Anna Patton's had a lot of plaudits this season for the way she's played, and like you mentioned, Chastity Grant as well, and Lynn Vilms obviously has been really good coming in. They've just had a few more headliners, is what I'd call them. Whereas I think before it was basically Rachel Daly was the main star attraction and almost the only star attraction. On Everton, they're not in a great place at the moment, Tom. They obviously got a point in this game, but they haven't won in their last 6 games. The only win of the season was that 4-1 away at Liverpool on the opening day, which they were pretty much outplayed, and sort of just Liverpool don't like playing at Anfield, so that's why they won. But in their next sort of 4 games before Christmas, it includes facing City, Chelsea and Arsenal. So it's obviously not a good run. And do you think that Everton could be in real trouble?
Yeah, I mean, we spoke about it on the preview pod that Everton had never even dropped a point at Villa Park in the WSL. So they have now. And obviously we know this is a different Villa side. Like, this is a really exciting Villa side. So I think a point's still a good result, especially when you get that result in the last few minutes. But it's definitely concerning, the fact that they've got those games coming up, the difficulty of those games as well. I think that I'm hesitant to be too harsh on Emily Ramsey because I think she's doing okay, but I do think they're missing Courtney Brosnan in goal. I just thought maybe specifically her kind of leadership as well. I think you mentioned that Mace goal, and while it was kind of hilarious from a neutral perspective, is also a case. I think a keeper maybe with a bit more confidence, or a bit of a louder keeper, shouts my ball on that one, because there was no one anywhere near the ball. Mace didn't need to touch the ball. Like, you come out and claim that ball. It just felt like a really avoidable own goal as well. And I think with a keeper where and that's something Emily Ramsey can work on, right? But, it just needs to be a bit louder in that scenario. And that could have been a lot more kind of punishing for Everton than it ended up being. I think if you're looking for like bright sparks, Kelly Gago starting and playing as well as she did is a huge bright spark. She is one of the best strikers in the league, and she had 4 key passes. That's double the next highest in the game. Thought her and Tony Payne worked really well up front together. And she's just that poacher. If there's going to be a loose ball late on in the game, you can bet that she's going to be on it. And it was a fantastic goal from Kitagawa as well, curled into the right kind of corner. So, there's definitely green shoots, and, scoring 3 as well has been something they've been struggling for goals. So to score 3 is an encouraging development in their season. But yeah, it's certainly, things might get worse before they get better, Sam.
Yeah, Everton might just have to the fans just might have to go along with it for the next few games. Then after Christmas, they'll hopefully for their sake, have a bit of a better time. Let's move on to one of the other, again, 12 o'clock games on a Sunday. This one was at Broadfield as Brighton faced Man United, with the visitors winning 3-2. Elizabeth Turland opening the scoring against her former side in the first half. And then a goal fest of the second half with Jess Park, Fran Kirby, Lisa Nelson and Kika Seke all scoring. Lisa Nelson scoring here on her 5th appearance of the season off the bench, which I thought was quite interesting. I hadn't really clocked the fact that, I knew she hadn't really been starting, but I hadn't clocked that she'd been coming off the bench so much. I think she's had 1 start and 5 appearances off the bench, so she's played in all but 1 game so far, which, I hadn't really picked up on. But I think team sheet wise, the sort of best piece of news was seeing Hannah Blundell back on the pitch. It's her first WSL appearance since giving birth. I think it might have actually been her first appearance. I can't remember if she played any of the cup games beforehand, before the break. But really nice to see her back on the pitch, because she was such an important part of Manchester United, and a team that doesn't have much depth either, especially in that sort of like wide defender position. She's going to be really important for them going forward. Man United are no longer the team to have conceded the fewest goals in the league. 40% of the goals they've conceded in the WSL season were in this game alone. It's now Chelsea that have that sort of accolade on their own with just 3 goals. And Jacob, I wanted to ask you about Jess Park, because I think she's sort of a bit of a bright spark for Manchester United this season, obviously better than people expected, I think, necessarily her to be. I think most people, including myself, thought Grace Clinton leaving would have hurt Manchester United more than than Jess Park would have helped with arriving. But once again in this game, she got the Player of the Match award, and she was fantastic, wasn't she?
She was, yeah. I mean, she's been absolutely brilliant since signing in the summer. Obviously, in the game on the weekend, she added to her tally, getting a goal and an assist. The first goal that Park scored, which was United's second of the game, there was a really nice 1-2 between Jess Park and Toon. Jess Park started the move, and it was a really nice kind of through ball. Toon passed it back, and Park scored just from inside the box. I think that we've seen that link up from Jess Park and Ella Toone quite a few times. The 2 goals that United scored, or 2 of United's goals against Everton, were kind of that Jess Park and Ella Toone combination. So it's really working for them, and all 3 of those goals that have been combined between the 2 of them have been in quite a similar fashion in the respect that they've all been from kind of a similar place, like almost at the edge of the box or just outside the area. And then Park getting an assist for Nolson's goal as well. And you have to give Brighton a bit of credit because they were 2-0 down, got back into the game, and then obviously kind of United restored that 2-goal cushion with the goal from Nolson. But yeah, that's 4 goals and 2 assists from Jess Park in 7 games, which is very, very, very impressive.
Yeah, and she is. Yeah, it looks like no stopping at the moment, which is fantastic for Man United fans. Izzy, I want to ask you about something from the other side, because obviously in the international break, Michelle Adjemang is injured with a ACL injury, which is, means she's going to miss almost guaranteed for the rest of this season and may even miss some of next season as well. But as much as that is a big dent for Brighton, because she's been such a great player for them so far this season, we saw Carla Camacho lead the line. I was really intrigued to see what she was going to be like coming to the league, because she didn't really do much. I think it was Real Madrid that she was at before, but she'd done a lot of really good stuff for like the Spanish youth sides. But how did you think she got on? Because I thought she had a few good, just from watching the highlights, thought she had a few good moments, but needs to sort of take that next step.
Yeah, I mean, they're big shoes to fill, right? Michelle Adjemang, will be a huge miss for the team. I was actually at the game where she did the ACL, so it was just one of those things you just never want to see. It was really, really, really horrible. But I do think Brighton have a lot of bright sparks, and I think she'll do well to be among those types of people, the likes of Fran Kirby. I mean, playing with Fran Kirby day in, day out, I mean, that will bring the best out of you. And I think she showed a lot of positives in this game. But yeah, I think it will be about playing around getting used to sort of playing around the players, getting more starts, more minutes. And I think, she can really develop from there, because Brighton are not a team that don't have attacking talent. They've got Fran Kirby, they've got Rosa Kafaji and Kiko Seika. And I think actually this time around it was more their defence that let them down necessarily than, their forward line. So I think, she's got a lot of opportunities to develop. And I think when you've kind of got slightly leveler fixtures as well, I think that could potentially be a really important time to shine for her. And, no one wants to see a big player like Michelle out, but obviously that gives room for other players to sort of shine. And we've seen before at other teams how well that happens. So yeah, fingers crossed for Brighton. This is a bit of an opportunity for them rather than a loss.
Yeah, I think, pretty much any team in the league, if they lost Michelle Adjemang, would be sort of a worse team without her. But yeah, I think obviously she had such a good season last season, towards the end of it anyway, at Brighton, had a great summer as well. So she'll be, I guess, really disappointed on a personal level as well, because it'll be a bit of a stopping point a bit in her career, but she's still very young. So if she comes back and recovers well, she's, I'm sure, got a very good career ahead of her still. Let's move on to one of the other games, and her parent club, Arsenal, winning 4-1 away at Leicester on Sunday. You can have a guess at what time this kicked off at the King Power. Alessia Russo giving Arsenal the lead in this game, followed by an own goal from Sarri Keys, and then 2 goals from Blackstenius, plus a consolation goal for Naomi Mouchon for Leicester, who I thought did quite well in this game. She had a few chances late on and potentially could have had more than one goal, but Arsenal was so dominant in this game, 71% of the possession. They completed more than triple the passes of Leicester, had almost 4 times the XG, more than triple the number of shots and double the shots on target. So not a big surprise that they won this one 4-1. Tom, I wanted to ask you about how Arsenal started, because obviously Russo has been leading the line pretty much all season, but in this game it was a bit of a deeper role for her, and Stina Blackstenius starting up top. Do you think this is a better way of Arsenal going? Because obviously it's been someone like Frida Mornham in that number 10 role before, but Stina Blackstenius has got the second most goals like goal involvement, so goals and assists in the WSL this season, only one behind Jess Park. So she's obviously doing pretty well. But do you think Arsenal are better off this way, or do you think it's better with Russo leading the line?
Yeah, I think that firstly, the early goal was absolutely vital for Arsenal, I think, here, because if I was planning Leicester how you could take down Arsenal in this game, you'd be thinking just keep it 0-0 as long as possible, or keep Arsenal without a goal as long as possible. This felt like a little bit of a return to the good old days, you can say that, under René Slegers, getting a big win. And obviously it was Blackstenius and Russo combining. However much Blackstenius knew about the combination is up for debate, but Russo's finish was fantastic. And Blackstenius was brilliant in this game. 2 goals. She probably could have had even more as well, but that's a little bit like you said about Georgia Muller earlier. You've got to be in the areas to have those chances, and Blackstenius finds herself kind of exclusively in those areas, really. And the combination with Beth Mead as well. But Beth Mead had a really good game in this one too. I like the Russo Blackstenius combination. I think that we'll see it again next week against Chelsea. I think it was particularly useful for this game, I think, because Leicester have had some problems with space in behind. And against Aston Villa, that was something that Aston Villa exploited really well. They were able to get in behind, I think 2 or 3 times, and it was just because of Janina Leipzig and maybe Villa's profligacy that they were able to draw that game. And obviously René Slegers has seen that, and Blackstenius is one of the best in the world at exploiting space in behind defences. It's when you come up against a team that's willing to sit in that low block and kind of frustrate you that I think Blackstenius is less of an effective presence in the side. I think that's why it could help them against Chelsea next weekend, because when London City had their best moments, it was on the counter, it was in the high press, in those areas which are Blackstenius thrives in those areas. Whereas, I think if Arsenal come up against a team that's more willing to sit back and let Arsenal play in front of them, the Russo-Blackstenius combination isn't going to be as effective as it was in this game. I think a vital win for Arsenal, especially. Izzy was saying last week she wanted it at least by 2 goals, so they did that. And I think she was absolutely right. I think they needed this confidence-boosting win and come back from the international break ready to go. I'd be a little bit concerned about. I thought Cadena had a good game, except for the Mouchon moment where it's just Cadena doesn't have the pace that she needs, I think, in that Arsenal backline the way they want to play. But yeah, good result for Arsenal. 4-1 is a really positive place to be going into a huge game next week.
Yeah, it is going to be a big one next week. I think the Cadena point is quite important because Naomi Mouchon is rapid, and Cadena, that's not what she's strong at as a defender. She's very strong. She's very good in the air. And when Leicester are a team that are basically only going to counter-attack against you, it's not a game that she's going to thrive in. But then I think if I'm Leia Cadena, I'm just thankful that I'm on the pitch, to be honest. And hopefully, I don't think this game will have changed how she's viewed at Arsenal anyway. I think she's still going to be she's not going to be the first choice centre back when everyone's fit, that kind of thing. And in a game where you're playing Leicester, who, as long as Arsenal can get a couple of goals, they're probably pretty certain they're going to win the game. It's probably a safe one to play her in. And yeah, I thought seeing Blackstenius' assist for the first goal really reminded me of. Have you ever seen those? Have you ever seen the video of Danny Welbeck's best assists? And basically, they're all just like shots that he scuffs or like bad touches, and then it falls to someone else. It's so good. He's done so many of them, and it really reminded me of that. She's not tried to do that. She's tried to stop the ball, but it's just put it on a plate for Russo. But yeah, that is what it is. I'm not going to touch on Arsenal for too long because I know we tend to quite a lot on this podcast. But as this was a bit of a dud game, we're just going to move on to the next one, which I'm sure Jake would be very happy about, because this one was Spurs 2, Liverpool 1. I don't know if it was on purpose. I don't know if it was like a weird little going to make a statement about this, but this one did actually start at 12:15 because the ambulance was late. So a little bit later, I guess. Woo. Liverpool took the lead in this one thanks to summer signing Beta Olsen, but goals from Tucker Koga and Bethany England gave Spurs the win in the end in this one. Jacob, Spurs' 5th win of the season, the same number they achieved last season. It's definitely a much better run out this time under Martin Ho.
Yeah, indeed. It's another very encouraging win to kind of round off what's been a really positive start to the season. As you said, 5 wins out of 7. All the games that we've played against non-top 4 sides, we've won. And I mean, this game was slightly different because we had to show character to come from behind. Beta Olsen scored relatively early on to put Liverpool ahead. I'm extremely surprised that it wasn't given offside because it looked like it was relatively obvious offside. But Olsen was very good, to be fair. She had 3 shots, 2 on target, and obviously scored that goal. But yeah, it was a really good comeback from Spurs. I don't think she'll get credited in the statistics, but I have to give another shout out to Olivia Holt because she was absolutely brilliant again, and she was instrumental in both of Spurs' goals. The equaliser came not long after Liverpool took the lead, and it was a really well worked corner routine from Spurs. Summerlin played it almost to the edge of the box to Holt, and Holt had the composure to take the touch around the defender, chip it, and Kirby almost like couldn't get to the ball, and then Koga had it was a 0.88 xG chance and almost just had to tap it in for 1-1. And then Holt was instrumental in the second goal as well, which came after half time. She played a lovely kind of chip through ball over the top to Amanda Nilden with her right foot. And Nilden had lots of space on the left to cross it into England to tap home for a 0.65 xG goal. These must be 3 of the highest xG goals that I've seen in one game, because Olsen's was 0.73 as well. I actually think on balance the game was pretty even, but I just thought Spurs' goals were 2 moments of quality that put us in the lead. I do want to give my best wishes to Maher Enderby because towards the back end of the game, she got a neck injury. I can't remember how it came about, but she was down in added time and she ended up being treated for 15 minutes. I'm not sure if there's been news to come out of what the injury is, but it looked bad and they kind of had to stretch her off. But yeah, from Spurs' point of view, another win, which gives us momentum ahead of a couple of difficult games against London City Lionesses and Arsenal in the next 2 weeks. For Liverpool, it's worrying again. It's another loss. That's 6 losses from 6. Granted to them, 4 of their 6 losses have been by 1 goal margin, so they have competed in games, but they have only scored 3 goals all season. And with Marie Herbinger doing her ACL and Enderby potentially being out, that's a lot of their kind of attacking options out in a team that are already struggling for goals. Concerning stuff for Liverpool, but very positive for Spurs.
Yeah, positive Spurs. One other stat that I've got written down as well was around Martha Thomas and winning 100% of her duels, which when you've had 6 duels isn't something that's very common. Not many players win 6 out of 6 in the game. And I think of someone that's not had the most sort of positive feedback, let's say, in the press and from the media recently. I thought Martha Thomas sort of deserved a shout out for that kind of stat because it's one of those things that, although it's not necessarily scoring goals, those kind of things do make a difference within the team and they do keep possession for your team or win possession, etc. But yeah, Tom, 6 losses from 6 games to Liverpool now, but finally they've got a second goal scorer of the season in Olsen. Capox was the only player that had scored until yesterday, but do you think Olsen's going to get a bit more pitch time now? Obviously, Enderby's out injured as well. She was someone that Gareth Taylor sort of lent on, I think probably a bit more than they should do. But Olsen, I don't really know why she hasn't had much pitch time until now. But a good sort of easy-ish goal for her to score. But she looked like she could have had another one in the game. And I thought she looked quite energetic.
Yeah, I think she will have a lot more pitch time. I mean, now that also Sophie Roman-Hag has done her ACL as well, so they like Jacob said, they are really lacking options. And I thought she was brilliant in this game. She really provided a focal point that I think Liverpool have been missing this season. She gave them an outlet. She it was a real poacher's performance as well. You know, I felt like when I've seen Liverpool a lot this season, I've felt, where is the goal coming from? I don't see the obvious answer. That I think it feels more like almost every other team in the division, you have that obvious answer, but you don't have it with Liverpool. And I think she could become that for Liverpool. I thought she was really, really good. You know, just when you have someone who the opposition have to kind of worry about at the other end of the pitch, it just makes such a difference, I think, because it makes such a difference to what you're able to do and how high you're able to push your team up the pitch as well. And I think Mia Enderby is a really good talent for the future, and it's really sad to see that she's injured now, but she hasn't scored in the WSL in the last couple of seasons, you know, and she's played, like you said, every game this year, and I just think maybe it would have been time to twist with her up front anyway. But yeah, hopefully she comes back soon, and you know, maybe gets a bit of confidence back in front of goal. But I think Beat Olsen's a really exciting player for Liverpool, and yeah, we'll see how she gets on.
Yeah, I think for Liverpool's sake as well, it'll be great if she can score some more goals, because they are, one of the two teams on 0 points this season alongside West Ham. But yeah, those are the 6 games that happened this weekend. Before we move on to aerial fantasy as well, I just wanted to give a shout out to WSL generally for their like YouTube highlights, because I was quite busy this weekend and didn't actually see any of the games live. So I watched a lot of the YouTube coverage, and I had a bit of a moan last season about how bad the YouTube coverage was, because at half time it was like one camera, wasn't great quality. It'd be just sort of the standard central angles. You didn't get any like decent replays and stuff like that. Sometimes you didn't even get a replay at all. And this season, it seems like they've actually put a bit of production value into it, and they've put some backing behind it, and they're doing it properly, and it looks so much better. It sounds better. You get sort of about 8 to 10 minutes, like the extended highlights are the ones I've been watching, and it's just a much better product. And I think that's the kind of thing that when people are going to be catching up on games, because not everyone watches all the games live, that having a better product for the YouTube highlights, for example, to watch is going to help people get into the game, and it's not going to look quite so budget. So yeah, I had a bit of a moan last season, but I do think credit where credit's due for that. Yeah, Tom?
Sam, I want to add on to that the Chelsea London City game was fantastic for that, because we had commentating on Sky Sports, we had Ellen Ellard, friend of the pod, and commentating for the first time on BBC Radio 5 Live. We had Emily Herbert. So yeah, what could you ask for? What more could you ask for, really?
Stop multi-view.
Well, I mean, yeah. I think what we need to do, because I actually watched multi-view for the first time this weekend. I've not watched it in the Premier League either. And I didn't realise it's just like one commentary pairing that do all 4 games, and they sort of commentate alongside. So I actually think that what they need to do is just, obviously, Ellen has obviously gone to great things, which, you know, maybe we started her off, maybe we didn't. Same with Emily. Maybe it's just us 4. Get on it, and we'll do the multi-view. And then, Izzy, you can't complain about it.
We'll take a game each, and we'll sort of do a 4 square thing with one of us in the corner of each game, and we all just talk over each other for
feels like another
2 hours.
circle of hell you've just described for Izzy commentating on the multi.
Maybe if we just
Sky,
didn't have all games at like an extortionately bad time, then I wouldn't have to worry about these things.
As much as someone that likes the Premier League as well, it is nice that the games aren't always on at the same time as Premier League games, but I would like them to not all be on at 12 o'clock all the time. And
it's almost like Sky pitched multi-view, and then they had to change all the times of the games.
But even the Saturday games are both at midday as well, and like you could even have one on a Friday or one later on the Saturday or later on the Sunday. And
they don't have any respect for my social plans.
I think multi-view is great in the Premier League where you've got 10 games, but I think in the WSL where you've got 6 or it'll be 7 next season, I think you're better off just spreading the games out. But that's a thing we could do, and other people have done a whole pod on, so I won't touch on that. Instead, let's move on to something much more fun, which is aerial fantasy. Obviously, another week has gone in the Decoding the WSL League, and we have a new leader at the top. Tom Pearce, Tom's team, the Giraffe and the Kelly and Mead, which I'll be honest is not a reference I understood at all, but Izzy's laughing, so it must have been funny in some aspect.
I don't understand it either. I just think it's hilarious.
Maybe it is just nothing, and he's just trying to like make everyone think that they don't get the joke, and that is the joke. But anyway, well done, Tom, because 77 points this game week alone puts you 10th overall in the world as well, with 413 points now. Tom played the Wall this week alongside captain Kasparai, and also had Hampton, Fugino, and Carpenter. So yeah, really racked up the points. The best score in our league this week was only actually 3 points more than Tom. It was Lockie M. Their team, What a Pullover, who are actually, I think, third in our league now as well, with 80 points, which was largely helped by triple captaining Alessia Russo. So well done, Lockie M. And yeah, well done, Tom. You are in line to win the, well, either shirt or pair of tickets to WSL game of your choice at the end of the season. You're going to have to keep it up. Izzy, I know that you've got quite a few stats on the Aero Fantasy bit this week, haven't you? It's almost like you work for them or something.
I actually turned up to a podcast about stats with some stats. Yeah, no, it was a funny week actually because a lot of people played the Wall. I don't have any stats on this. I just know anecdotally that a lot of people played the Wall. And I think Renee Slayer's made 3 57-minute substitutions. And then I believe in the United game, there's been some beef with the fantasy managers and our Twitter admin because one player was subbed off at 59 minutes and the other was at 60. So obviously one of them got the clean sheet. A lot of people have been playing the Wall and have been foiled by managers across the WSL this weekend, myself included. So I thought that was quite funny. Just from a...
That is quite funny. I've figured out this because I had something similar in, or not I had, but one of my friends had something similar in FPL this season as well, where that happened, and it was like at a different minute. That it's just the minute that the player actually steps off the pitch is when the substitution's done, not like when the game stops.
That's what
which
I
never
said.
realised.
And I said, like, don't complain to us. Like, you should have told Ella Toon to run slower. Like, I don't know what like. So anyway, but yeah, I thought it was interesting. I was just interested to see because I know, well, I proclaimed last week on the pod, and anything I proclaim on the preview pod is usually wrong, that this would be a good week for the sort of teams outside the top four. So I thought I'd pull where the most points came from this weekend per team. And I thought it was interesting that Chelsea and City were in the top two, both on Chelsea 61 and Manchester City had 60 points combined. I'm assuming those all come from clean sheet defenders, basically. But yeah, given that it was sort of 1-0, 2-0, they weren't the most dynamic games. So, sometimes playing, a safe bet is just a safe bet, I think is probably the lesson for all of us. Arsenal were in third with 55, and United with 53. Everton were actually next with 52, whereas Villa only clocked up 42. So, yeah, I thought that was kind of interesting. West Ham was actually joint third bottom with Liverpool. So London City Lionesses and Leicester City both got combined points less than West Ham and Liverpool. So yeah, from that perspective, on a fantasy point, it was interesting to see Everton players slightly overperforming, Brighton players distinctly underperforming compared to what actually happened. But my one thing that I was looking at that I find really interesting is Mariona Caldente. I can't figure her out this season because comparatively to what I see her as in my mind, she's really not doing that well. She got subbed off fairly early on in the Arsenal game, I think. And yeah, she's had two assists and 1 goal, I believe, so far this season. But she's the third highest scorer in the fantasy game. So that's crazy. And I looked into it, and it's because she has got bonus points in every single game except for one, and that was the United game. So I feel like it's worth just paying the 10 million, having her in your team just for the bonus points. She's not going to do anything. She's got 0.1 goals per game in the season, but she'll get 3 bonus points, so that's nice. And I also, on the point of midfielders, wanted to have a look at Jess Park, just because, like you were saying earlier, Sam, she's done so well. And I'm loving seeing her thrive at United. And actually, United have by far the most combined points of any team in aerial fantasy this season. So it is worth having 3 United players on your team. But she's actually doubled her selection rate on aerial this season than what she averaged last season. So I think she's on 17% at the moment. And she's already got 73% of the points that she got throughout the whole season last season. So she's currently on 48. And yeah, she's still got, 60% of the season to go. So it's looking good for Jess Park on fantasy, which is interesting given that she replaced Grace Clinton, who was the most popular player on the game last year. So those are just like some random things I picked up on, but made me happy and also confused about Caldente. But yeah, I thought those were
random things.
Some fun random stats for your pod.
Well, I think how many weeks ago it was now, a month or so ago, when we had Daisy Goodhand on, that she mentioned something similar about Mariona Caldente just seems to get loads of points on fantasy, even though she's not doing that well in real life. And I said, I bet it's just because she gets loads of fantasy points, because she does all the sort of, she's in quite high in a lot of like the metrics that you don't really like see that much on the pitch, if that makes sense. Like things like progressive passes and blocks and interceptions, things like that. She's always near the top, and she was last season as well. So I bet it's those kind of things that all, I guess, contribute to the bonus points, don't they?
And also it's because, we've rigged it just so that she gets all the points because we love her.
I might clip that.
Don't all get fired.
In your Arsenal shirt as well.
Yeah.
Listen, I'm not known for being subtle, Tom.
It's going to be on Instagram. It's going to be Aerial Fantasy. Whoever the admin is going to get a notification saying, Decoding the WSL want to collaborate with you on a post.
Yeah, I better log into it quick and just delete the admin.
Yeah. No, that was a really good roundup. I think that, we'll cover it on the preview pod that we're going to do. But yeah, I've definitely had a look ahead to the next week, and I'm going to be putting at least one Manchester United player in that I don't already have, because I think they're probably the team that are most likely to win next week. But before we're going to record the preview pod later, but before we get to that, it's really important that we have a game of Know Your Stat. So if you're new here, Know Your Stat is essentially a game of categories. I'm going to give Tom, Izzy and Jacob a category one at a time. They're going to take turns naming players that fit into that category. Now, Tom and Jacob, you are currently joint top of the leaderboard with 8 matches won each. Tom is ahead just because he's played fewer matches than Jacob, but obviously whoever wins today out of you two, if one of you two win, will be top. If not, it will still be Tom. Izzy, you're in 3rd place on 4, but it is important to note that Laura Howard is on next week, and she is only 1 behind you on 3. So if
Laura
you
Howard, my
don't
nemesis.
win today, if you don't win today and Laura wins next week, you are going to drop down to 4th, just so you know. So everyone's got something to play for this week.
Sam, can I just interject here? Just if Jacob wins today, I just think his attitude has been so bad, he shouldn't have been invited back to the pod.
I'm just rewarding the bad behaviour by putting him up there.
Really?
I'd just like to release a statement saying that I just really respect what Jacob's done, and I'll just continue to try Know Your Stat as best as I can.
I'll be retiring if Jacob wins.
But you can hear all about it in Tom's new book. Okay, so we've got 3 rounds ready to go, and then as I've always got, a sort of less enjoyable 4th round if everyone wins one that's slightly harder. Izzy, I'm going to give you first choice for round 1. Would you like the one about appearances, goals, or assists?
Let's go for appearances, please.
Appearances it is. So this one, there are a lot of players that you could name. I would like you to name any of the 50 players that have started 7 times in the WSL this season. Something I will say as well is that sometimes being on the pod and sometimes just listening to the pod after, I think we're getting a bit too relaxed and we're getting a bit too nice. So you're not going to get that long between answers to think about what you're going to say. 3 or 4 seconds tops. Otherwise, you're going to get timed out today. So 50 players to name that have made appearances in 7 games in the WSL this season. Obviously, not every team has played 7 games, so don't forget about that. We'll go Izzy to go first.
Is this started or just appearances?
Started. Yeah, started the game. So we're going to go Izzy to go first, then Jacob, then Tom.
Okay. Steph Catley.
Steph Catley is a correct answer.
Wait, was I second?
Yeah.
Don't
go stalling already, Jacob, after I just said that.
Bad attitude.
It's the bad attitude Tom's talking about.
Lisa Cop.
Lisa Cop is correct, yeah.
Hannah Hampton.
Hannah Hampton. Of course you went Hannah Hampton, correct.
Kinga Shemek.
Kinga Shemek is also... Oh no, Kinga Shemek is not a correct answer.
No, I just remembered that...
She's absolutely correct. No, she was injured.
I just remembered that. Oh my god. No! Okay.
Well, unless both of the next answers are wrong.
No, they won't be.
You are out, Izzy. Jacob.
Jesus Christ.
Toka Koga.
Toka Koga is a correct answer.
Daphne van Domselaar.
Yeah, also correct answer. Back to Jacob.
Fallon Tullis-Joyce.
That is correct.
Maya Letitia.
Yeah, Letitia is also correct. It's 3 each so far. Back to Jacob.
Millie Bright.
That is correct answer as well.
Claire Hunt.
Claire Hunt, yeah. I thought Jacob was going to be the only one to get the Spurs players, but that is correct.
Natalie Bjorn.
Natalie Bjorn is also correct.
Elena Lette.
Yeah, Lette is correct. You very nearly got timed out there, Tom. I told you I'm going to be harsh on it. I'll give you like a little 2-second warning, but...
Aggie Beaver-Jones.
Yeah, correct.
Kosovare Aslani.
Also correct.
Kirsten Kasparai.
Kirsten Kasparai has indeed.
Bunny Shaw.
Bunny Shaw also has. Sorry, I had a little panic there because I was like, I thought she had, but then I realised that she's on my list as Khadija Shaw. Just lost her. Go on, Jacob.
Yui Hasegawa.
Yeah, correct answer.
Ella Toon.
Ella Toon is correct.
Mariana Caldente.
Correct.
Kim Little.
Kim Little is correct. You're nearly into double figures.
Katie McCabe.
Katie McCabe is correct.
Alessia Russo.
Alessia Russo is correct.
Nadozi, the Brighton keeper.
Yeah, Chiamaka Nadozi, correct answer. Go after Russia.
Tom's taking too long.
3, 2, 1.
No,
Being timed out. It's a win for Jacob then. with 11 correct answers to Tom's 10. That is
I'm growing
very good
rapidly
going.
to hate this game.
Izzy, you looked really polite sat there waiting for them to finish.
I know. I was like, should I catch up on my emails or something?
Well done.
Yeah, that went on for... You did better than I thought you would. There weren't many players that were like what I would think would be obvious that you would get. I'm surprised you didn't get Bethany England, Evelina Simonen, Yanis Kamen, Janina Leitzig, Jess Naz. I didn't think she was going to be on that list, but she was. Thought Jacob might have got her. Maisie Simmons. Who else was like an obvious one on there? Sam Tierney, maybe, but that's about it. Viv Miedemar. I guess some of those big names. But yeah, that was one that, although there are 50 players on the list, it's quite easy to get caught out, I think. But that is round one to Jacob. Tom, I'm going to give you round two so you can pick. Do you want the one about goals or assists?
Let's take assists.
Assists. So this is going to be Tom, then Izzy, then Jacob. Really easy one. I'd just like you to tell me any of the 14 players that have got at least 2 assists so far this season.
Jess Park.
Jess Park has 2, correct. Izzy.
Beth Mead.
Beth Mead has 4.
Ella Toon.
Ella Toon's leading the league on 5.
Ellie Carpenter.
Carpenter has 2, correct answer. I will say you've got all of the players that have more than 2 now. So all of the players that are left have exactly 2.
Kirsten Kasperai.
Kirsten Kasper is correct.
Stina Blackstenius.
Steve Blackstones is correct as well.
Viv Miedemar.
Viv Miedemar is an incorrect answer. She only has 1 so far this season. Sorry, Tom. Back to Izzy.
Olivia Smith.
Olivia Smith is also an incorrect answer. Where is she on my list? She also has 1. So that means, Jacob, if you can get this one right, you take the round and you take the match.
Vika Kaptein.
The captain has exactly 2. Very well done. So that is a win after 2 rounds for Jacob.
Well done, Jacob.
The players,
Well done.
the players that you didn't get, and I think some of you might kick yourselves a bit, especially because in the notes on Aerial Fantasy, Izzy wrote down that Mariona Caldente has 2 assists.
Did I not say her?
Nope. Alessia Russo, you didn't get. Kat Macario, Elizabeth
I would like to
Turland,
point
Maz
out I
Pacheco.
literally wrote her down and didn't even
You wrote her
say
down as well. Maz Pacheco, Martina Fernandez, and Rosa Kafaji were the other players that you missed. I'll save the 4th one, but we will play the 3rd round anyway, the one about shootings. This one's going to be Jacob to go first, followed by Tom, and then Izzy. I would like you to tell me any player that has less than 300 minutes played per goal scored this season. Obviously, they need to have scored a goal to be on this list, but they only need to have scored 1 at least. And yeah, less than 300 minutes per goal scored this season. There are 36 players on the list. Jacob to go first.
Sam Kerr.
Sam Kerr is 3rd in the league at 50 minutes per goal.
Agiviva Jones.
Agiviva Jones is correct. She's on 137.
Beata Olsen.
Beata Olsen is on the list, 220 minutes. 1 goal.
Melvin Mallard.
Melvin Mallard, yep, 8th on the list, 100, bang on.
Bunny Shaw.
Bunny Shaw, of course, she's on the list, 155.
Stina Blackstenius.
Stina Blackstenius, she's 4th on the list, 65 minutes per goal.
Jess Park.
Jess Park is also on the list. She's in the top 10 at 130.
Fran Kirby.
Fran Kirby is on 226, so correct answer.
Beth England.
Beth England is also on the list, 272, so just about on the list.
Ornella Vignola.
Vignola is on the list, 152 minutes per goal.
Katinka Tanberg.
Tanberg's on the list, yeah, 151 minutes per goal.
Jess Naz.
Jess Naz is not on the list. She has not scored a goal yet this season, so it does not make the list. Go back to Jacob.
Alessia Russo.
Alessia Russo is correct, 205 minutes per goal.
Kelly Gago.
Kelly Gago is also correct, 9th on the list, 122. Back to Jacob.
Alba Fagino.
Yep, Alba Fagino, 150.
Kirsty Hansen.
Kirsty Hansen's on 194, so yeah, correct.
Vika Kaptein.
Vika Kaptein's on 191, so correct again.
Elizabeth Turland.
Elizabeth Turland is on 201, which is less than I thought she would be. As in worse than I thought she'd be. I thought she'd be on less minutes per goal.
Kosovare Aslani.
Kosovare Aslani is an incorrect answer. She is on 305 minutes per goal. So Tom needs a correct answer here to take the game, or to take the round, I should say.
I'm going to go Izzy Goodwin.
Yeah. Izzy Goodwin has scored, but she's scored one goal every 315 minutes. So she's also an incorrect answer, which means Jacob, you're back in.
I'll try another London City Lionesses player. I'll go Nikita Paris.
Nikita Paris is correct. A goal every 285 minutes. So just about a correct answer.
Let me go Ella Toon.
Ella Toon's correct. A goal every 292 minutes.
Viv Miedemar.
Yeah, Viv Miedemar's correct. Every 261. There are quite a few players on the list that are a goal under every 200 minutes that you've not got yet.
Olivia Smith.
Olivia Smith is an incorrect answer. She has a goal every 346 minutes, which means Jacob takes a clean sweep.
Well done, Jacob.
Literally,
3 rounds of 3.
Olivia Smith was the next name that I wrote down. I was going to say her. So.
It's a good job you didn't go. There was quite a few players, and there's a few that I'm a little bit surprised no one went for. There's a lot of players on the list that have only scored one goal and just haven't played that many minutes. So obviously you got Beta Olsen, but you didn't get Georgia Mullet, who I thought you might have got. You didn't get Grace Clinton. Frida Mornham's got 3 goals in 240 minutes, so she's well under. Chloe Kelly was a correct answer. Laura Coombs has a goal and she's barely played. Lucy Parker was the number 1 player with just 22 minutes to her 1 goal. Micah Hamano's on the list. Lisa Nalsund. Thought someone might get Naomi Mouchon. She's got 2 goals in 76 minutes. Olivia Holt, Rosa Kafaji, Olga Atanen were all correct answers. But yeah, a big win, Jacob. 3 wins in 3 rounds. So take the match and you take first place on the leaderboard.
I'll pass over to Tom. What have you got to say about that?
You can read all about it in my book.
No, Jacob, a very good way to round off as well. I forgot to mention right at the start, but today was your 30th episode of Decoding the WSL. So congrats on the accolade. Izzy, this is your 25th.
Oh.
Do we get
anniversary?
You get caps.
Yeah.
The budget does not stretch to caps. The budget does not stretch to a lot at the moment. It certainly doesn't stretch to caps. Maybe one day. Maybe one day when we've got loads of
Put it on your
patrons and we're
Patreon,
flying
yeah.
people.
You can buy Jacob and Izzy and Tom a cap.
People will be flooding to it now. You can obviously become a patron if you want. Head to patreon.com/decoding the WSL to sign up and become a friend of the pod for £3 a month. At the moment, we're not doing any sort of extra content. It's just as a sort of helping us run the show, helping with some of the costs that we have. But I think there are things in the pipeline to create extra shows for Patreon members, which I'm really looking forward to. I think it's going to be fantastic for the show, I think, when we get to that stage. But keep an eye out for that. Keep an eye out, obviously, by listening to the pod, but also on social media as well for anything we announce there. But that's about it for us today. So don't forget, if you're not already, make sure to follow or subscribe wherever you get your podcasts, and follow at Decoding the WSL on Instagram, and check out the Decoding the WSL YouTube if you're not already there as well. But other than that, thank you, Izzy. Thank you, Jacob. Thank you, Tom. And we'll speak to you at the next one.